Strength is not proven by noise, but by results. Work quietly, like roots beneath the soil, unseen yet essential. Let your progress speak when the time is right, for a loud effort often fades, but silent persistence builds legacies. In a few moments, I'll teach you why it's better to work hard quietly. No noise, no show, just results that speak for themselves. 1. The silent forge. Have you ever wondered why the most powerful transformations happen in complete silence? There's something profoundly magnetic about those who toil away from the world's gaze, crafting themselves into something extraordinary while others sleep. This isn't about hiding from responsibility or avoiding recognition. It's about understanding that true strength is forged in the crucible of solitude. What does it mean to work in silence? It means choosing the path of internal revolution over external validation. It means understanding that every moment spent explaining your ambitions to others is a moment stolen from actually pursuing them. The silent worker recognizes that energy dissipated through words is energy that could have been channeled into action. Why is this approach so powerful? Because silence creates an impenetrable fortress around your developing character. When you work without fanfare, you protect your fragile aspirations from the corrosive effects of premature judgment and well-meaning interference. You create a sacred space where your true self can emerge without the distorting influence of external expectations. How do you cultivate this discipline? Begin each day before dawn breaks, when the world sleeps and your mind is clearest. Set your intentions without sharing them, pursue your goals without announcing them, and measure your progress by internal standards rather than external applause. I once knew a craftsman who spent 20 years perfecting his art in a modest workshop behind his home. While his neighbors pursued immediate gratification and public recognition, he quietly refined his skills until one day masters from distant lands sought him out. His decades of silent dedication had transformed him into something the world desperately needed, but couldn't create through noise and haste. 2. Internal dominion. The greatest battlefield you'll ever encounter isn't found in any external arena. It exists entirely within the confines of your own mind. Most people spend their entire lives as prisoners of their own emotional reactions, slaves to impulses they never learned to master, victims of thoughts they never questioned. But there exists a select few who understand that true power lies in conquering this internal territory. What is internal dominion? It's the ability to remain unmoved by circumstances that would shatter others. It's the capacity to choose your response rather than being dragged around by your reactions. It's understanding that while you cannot control what happens to you possess absolute sovereignty over what happens within you. Why is this mastery essential? Because everything in your external world is a reflection of your internal state. Your relationships, your achievements, your failures, all of these are manifestations of the degree to which you've either mastered or been mastered by your inner landscape. Without this foundation, any external success becomes as fragile as morning mist. How do you develop this dominion? Through daily practice of examining your thoughts before they become emotions, your emotions before they become actions. It requires the discipline to pause between stimulus and response, to create space where wisdom can operate. I remember a merchant who lost everything in a single catastrophic season: his ships, his warehouse, his reputation. While others in similar circumstances turned to despair or rage, he spent his days in quiet contemplation, rebuilding his character before attempting to rebuild his fortune. 3 years later, he had not only recovered his losses, but had become wealthier than before, because he had learned to work from a foundation of unshakable internal strength. 3. Virtue before victory. In a world obsessed with outcomes and achievements, there exists a deeper understanding that the character you build while pursuing your goals matters infinitely more than whether you actually reach them. This isn't about lowering your standards or accepting mediocrity. It's about recognizing that who you become in the process of striving is the only prize that truly endures. What does it mean to prioritize virtue before victory? It means choosing integrity even when dishonesty would be easier, choosing courage even when fear feels overwhelming, choosing wisdom even when ignorance would be more comfortable. It means understanding that every decision is an opportunity to strengthen or weaken your character, regardless of its immediate practical consequences. Why is this approach superior to mere ambition? Because external victories are temporary and fragile, they can be lost through circumstances beyond your control. But the virtues you develop, the character you forge, the wisdom you accumulate, these become permanent parts of who you are. They cannot be stolen, destroyed, or diminished by external forces. How do you implement this philosophy? By asking yourself in every situation, what would the person I aspire to become do in this moment? By choosing the harder path when it aligns with your principles, even when the easier path promises quicker rewards. I witnessed a builder who was offered a contract that would have made him wealthy overnight, but it required him to use inferior materials that would endanger future inhabitants. While his competitors rushed to accept similar offers, he declined and continued his slow, methodical work with superior materials. Years later, when buildings constructed by his competitors began to fail, his reputation for integrity brought him more work than he could handle. 4. The quiet revolution. True transformation never announces itself with fanfare or seeks applause from spectators. The most profound changes in human character happen in the spaces between heartbeats, in the moments when no one is watching, in the daily decisions that seem insignificant but compound into extraordinary results over time. What constitutes a quiet revolution? It's the deliberate choice to transform yourself without seeking recognition for the process. It's understanding that real change happens through consistent, almost invisible actions repeated over months and years. It's the recognition that the most powerful revolutions are fought and won entirely within the landscape of a single human soul. Why is this approach more effective than dramatic, public declarations of change? Because when you announce your intentions, you often mistake the announcement for the accomplishment. You receive premature validation that satisfies the part of you that craves recognition, reducing your motivation to do the actual work. Silent transformation protects your developing new self from interference and premature judgment. How do you lead this quiet revolution? Begin with the smallest possible changes, adjustments so minor they seem almost laughable. Wake 10 minutes earlier, read 1 page of wisdom before sleep, pause for 3 breaths before responding to provocation. These microscopic shifts, maintained consistently, create tectonic changes in your character. I knew a teacher who decided to transform her approach to education. Instead of announcing her new philosophy to colleagues or seeking recognition for her innovative methods, she quietly began implementing small changes in her classroom. She listened more deeply to her students, prepared her lessons with greater care, and responded to challenges with increased patience. 5 years later, without ever promoting herself, she was sought out by educators from across the region who had witnessed the extraordinary results in her students. 5. Endurance as excellence. The modern world has forgotten that endurance is not merely about surviving difficult circumstances, it's about transforming those circumstances into the very material from which extraordinary character is forged. Every challenge you face is secretly an invitation to become stronger, wiser, more resilient than you were before. What is true endurance? It's not grimly tolerating hardship while waiting for it to pass. It's embracing difficulty as your most reliable teacher, understanding that obstacles are not barriers to your development, but the essential ingredients of it. It's recognizing that your capacity to persist through challenges is the measure of your human worth. Why does endurance lead to excellence? Because every time you choose to continue when quitting would be easier, you're making a deposit in the bank of your character. These deposits compound over time, creating a foundation of strength that makes you capable of achievements that would be impossible for those who quit at the first sign of resistance. How do you develop this form of endurance? By reframing every difficulty as an opportunity for growth. When faced with hardship, ask not, "How can I escape this?" but "How can I grow through this?" Train yourself to find meaning in struggle, purpose in pain, and opportunity in obstacles. I remember a farmer whose crops failed 3 consecutive seasons due to drought, flood, and disease. While neighboring farmers sold their land and moved to the cities, he used each failure as a laboratory for learning. He studied soil composition, water management, and plant genetics with the dedication of a scholar. In the fourth season, his harvest was not only successful but abundant, and his hard-won expertise made him a sought-after advisor to farmers across the region. 6. The architecture of character. Most people construct their lives like houses built on sand, impressive from a distance, but destined to collapse when the storms arrive. But there exists a different approach, one that treats character as the bedrock foundation upon which everything meaningful must be built. This isn't about moral superiority, it's about understanding